Welcome to another terrific Tips for Business podcast. I, of course, am Terri, your host, because you can't spell terrific without Terri. I'm so glad that you've taken the time to join us today. I have a very special guest here with us. Her name is Susan Trumpler. And for those of you who don't know Susan, let me introduce you. She is the founder of The Unstoppable Women in Business and is an international speaker, coach, and podcaster. She's also the author of the upcoming book, Sell Like a Boss: How to Turn Your Sales into Your Superpower. Who doesn't want that book? I do. That sounds like awesome. Okay, so she dedicates her time and efforts to eradicating the phrase, "I hate sales," from the vocabulary of women business owners. How important is that? Oh my goodness. The Success Collaborative is her flagship hybrid coaching program, and it is her pride and joy. And she dedicates her time to creating customized success roadmaps for each member and then invites them into an intimate community of like-minded peers to implement their plans and watch their revenues soar. If you want to learn more about the Unstoppable Women in Business, just go to unstoppablewomeninbusiness.com, and I'm sure there will be other opportunities to connect with the fabulous Susan throughout our conversation today. So thank you all so much for being here. And Susan, I'm so excited to have you. Thanks for joining me.
Terri, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here this morning.
Yeah, I'm so excited because when we were booking this conversation, one of the things is I didn't know you had a new book coming up. So that's super exciting. Mm-hmm. But we had talked a good bit about that community that you'd created. And I love your passion and focus for supporting women in business. Where does that come from?
Oh my gosh, Terri, you started out with the best question ever. Here's the thing. I have learned, okay, there's one good thing about getting older is that you really start to know who you are and why you were even put here. Like what's your damn purpose of being here? And what I know about myself more now than I ever did when I was younger is that I was put on this earth to create community, that I love connecting with people and connecting the right people to the right people. It brings me joy, and I love supporting people. I have a very heavy duty matriarch kind of an energy about me. I love to support people and to lift them up and watch them be successful. So yes, I've got lots and lots and lots of sales background, but what led me to start Unstoppable Women in Business was that desire to see every woman out there who has an idea, a dream, something they want to bring to life in this world, to see them be successful in doing that. And loving sales or enjoying sales is part of that process.
Yes. I love it because we're of like mind here. And this is what makes it so great to have somebody like you on the show. Because we just jive. We just have this awesome synergy about supporting and loving on people and seeing them win. Like that's my favorite thing, is to see other people win. So you've got a couple of success tips, a couple of pillars, actually, I think is what you called it.
Yes.
What are your 3 pillars of success?
Yes. So there's, Terri, there is like, when you run a business, there's probably 1,000 things that you need to do in order to, create and generate a business that's viable, right?
At least.
But at least. What I do is I like to put it in a way that people can digest and be able to compartmentalize, so that they are like, where am I working right now in my business to be successful? So the 3 pillars that I believe that your revenue generating, in a sense, activities should stand on are part of the Success Collaborative, which you mentioned is what I bring to my group. But the very first one is you've got to have a plan, a rock solid success plan. Here's the problem that I see all the time. We have dreams and goals. It's like, oh, I want to hit over 100K this year. That's something I hear from a lot of new business or people who've been in business a year or two. It's just, I've got to get to that 6 figures. I've got to get to that double-digit month, right? At $10,000 a month. They have these goals and they put that goal on like this platter and they go, yes, that's what I want. I'm going to go get it. But they don't take the time to create a really detailed success roadmap that says, if that's the goal, what do I have to do every single step along the way to make that goal a reality? And there's two things that come into it. And part of the success plan focuses on the fact that sometimes it just comes down to math. I know that sounds silly, but if you've got this goal and you're selling something, in essence, does the math align? Can you physically produce enough of this, whatever it is, a program, a service, a coach, whatever it is? Can you physically produce that to hit your goal? Or what the heck is I call it a money mountain? How do you create your offerings in a way that the math lines up with your future goal? So there's a process that you have to go through that says, you know, ultimately, end of the day, this lagging indicator of a goal is what I want, but what are the steps and the processes along the way? And how does the math impact that from A to Z? So
And that's
that's
such
the
a
first
great
pillar.
point, because a lot of people don't spend a lot of time doing that. I work a lot with small businesses. That's why I created this channel, is for those small business owners. And a lot of times we really don't think about putting a rock solid business plan together. Thanks,
Yeah.
Rita. I so appreciate that. She was like a rock solid success plan. That's so important. Yes,
Yeah.
it absolutely is. And we don't think about it. We get into business because we're really good at what we do.
Yes.
And we don't think about owning something that's outside of just owning our own work.
Right.
Sometimes we just own
That's
our
true.
own job, and
And
there's
it's
nothing wrong with that,
that
but
I was
it's
just
not.
going to say, it's
Yeah.
not their fault. Think about what you're bombarded with. If you're an online business owner, right? You're in front of your computer and your screens and monitors all day long. And if you're on the internet, you're getting hit with social media, you're getting hit with different things. It's like, oh, buy this, do this. This is what's going to work. This is what you should be doing. And you're like, holy cow, which one should I do? And so you're in essence grasping at straws and saying, I'm going to try this one. I'm going to try this. I'm sure this is going to be what helps. This is definitely going to be the thing. But what you're doing is you're creating business schizophrenia,
Yeah.
where you've got 1,000 voices in your head, all telling you different things, and you haven't created the strategy to see how those things fit into it yet. So stop, create the strategy, and then move forward with what are the right things and pieces to put into place in order to get to the results.
I love to call it the shiny object syndrome.
Oh,
We in
gosh.
business always, because every single person we talk to is like, oh, you need to do this. Oh, you need to be on this platform. Oh, you need to go over here and do that. Or you need to come to this
Exactly.
networking event or this ribbon cutting. And it's like, you don't want to let people down. I think we all as
Mhm.
humans don't want to let people down. So we end up saying yes to all of these things, but we're not really like moving the needle actually in our business, because these things that we're saying yes to aren't part of our success
That's
plan.
exactly right. That's exactly right. So let me give your listeners a quick tip,
Yeah.
because this does not have to be big and cumbersome and just take one thing. So take one program that you have, determine what you want the revenue from that program to going to be this year. Okay. Figure out how many, and I'm going to use the words units. Okay. So how many of those do you need to sell? So now you've got a number. Now you start working backward to say, okay, so if that's my number, how many people do I need to talk to about this in order? And talk to, again, it can be social media, it can be a webinar, it can be all different speaking opportunities, all different things. But you've got to figure out how much do you need to sell of what in order to hit your goal. And then how are you going to find the people to
Mm.
talk to? And that's when you start putting your little tactics into place and say, well, if I need to sell 10 of these, okay, and I can close usually 30%, like 3 out of 10 people that I talk to, I can get to say yes. Well, then all of a sudden, you know that to sell 10, you need to have 30 conversations. Oh, now where am I going to generate those 30? You see how you start with the end in mind, and then you do your math to figure out what do I need to do to generate that level of activity. And now where do I go to find those people? Now it's magic. Now you can get all kinds of creative, but you've got to know your plan before you start figuring out what you're going to do.
Such a great tip. And it does allow us to stay focused and
Mhm.
intentional with the work that we're doing, because we know what our goal is. We know the steps that we need to take to get there. And then we get to be creative and say, where am I going to find these people? Who are these people?
Who are these people? Exactly. And that's the fun part.
It is
And that actually leads us to the second pillar, which is once you've done your math, once you've identified how many people you need to talk to, and you've done your work with your marketing folks or with whomever to think through who are the people I want to talk to. Now it's like, how do I get to them and how do I have conversations? So the second pillar is all about, and here's the part, Terri, that comes in where people are a little bit resistant because they get the thought in their mind that when they go to sell someone, they have to be pushy or aggressive. And they just reject that notion. We're women. We don't want to be pushy and aggressive. And I'm here to tell you, you don't have to be, because second pillar, if you can create an authentic conversation that is customer centric, that is centered on what it is that your ideal client wants more than anything else in this world to do, their deepest desire, what they need to do differently in their life to get it, and then be able to tie yourself to how you can help them make that shift. Now, instead of it being, I am pushing something at someone, now what's happening is you're drawing them into the conversation, and you're doing it in a way that they know that you know them. They get the connection that you understand them and that you have something of value to say that they want to hear. Now you're anything but pushy, because it's a pull in, it's a draw into kind of an energy, and it's a way that you can work together. And it's a beautiful, authentic, connected conversation. And you're not selling. All you're doing is influencing them to see your perspective and agree that it's the right thing for them to do. So it's a total change or shift between pushing stuff out at people or drawing people into you. And it's magical.
I love it. I refer to this section as it's just a conversation.
Yeah.
It's just a conversation. At the end of the day, I know that I have a solution for you. And you may or may not know that I have that solution available, but you're going to feel appreciated because I hear you. I'm asking questions that lets you know I'm engaged with what you're telling me. I care about what's happening to you and the challenge that you're faced with right now. And, I might have a solution for you. And if I did, would it be something you'd want to know about? And now it's not a pushy sales conversation.
So much easier.
It's an invite to get clearer on the details. And I love it. Rita, you are fantastic. Thank you for engaging so much. Start with the end in mind. Genius. Susan just makes it super clear. Thanks. And then she said, pillar 2, create an authentic, customer-centric conversation. So right on, Rita. Thank you.
Excellent.
Exactly. So
all right,
that customer-centric conversation. So is there a tip for how we can do that?
Of course.
Thanks.
As a matter of fact, the hard part is picking one tip, because as a matter of fact, I'm going to be offering a little masterclass that is free to your clients or your listeners to participate in. That's going to walk them through the whole process of this. But here's what I know about sales conversations from everyone that I'm talking to, clients and people in networking. They're like, you know what? I don't have too much trouble in the beginning. Because we can talk. It's just a conversation. We're just getting to know each other, right? But what I'm hearing from them is the wheels start to fall off the wagon after they've learned about the problem. And now it's time to make the offer. And all of a sudden, making that offer or avoiding making that offer, because I've had women say, yeah, I get there and I'm just like, okay, been nice talking to you. Bye-bye. But making the offer is the part that is really, it becomes the place you're vulnerable, because now I'm going to put that gift out on the table and they may or may not reject it. Right. And so there's a certain level of vulnerability that comes with that. And here's the tip for people. And I know this is going to be counterintuitive, is do not make the offer unless you've earned the right to make the offer.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah. And here's what I mean by that.
Yeah.
There is a connection and a state of relationship that has to go on between the two of you that has to be there in place for someone to hear your offer in a way that they are accepting it as a gift. I know this is hard to talk about in just a couple minutes, but bear with me here. When people come to a consult call, right? They have a natural curiosity. Well, obviously they wouldn't have booked a call with you unless they weren't kind of like wondering. And we're talking here not super warm leads, referrals, people who knew already when they came to the call, they want what you got, right? This is your typical, yeah, I've been watching you on social media. You did or said something that piqued my interest. I'm willing to come and talk to you. Now they know this is a sales call. They're not stupid. You can call it anything you want, a free coaching session, or, you can put any kind of pretty layer on top of it. They know they're coming to the session ultimately to be sold. They know this. All right. So here's the problem. They come and they actually have this barrier, protective barrier, because they don't want to be sold. You don't want to be sold, right? They don't want to be sold. Nobody wants to sell. So here we're having this conversation and everything's good. But if you don't lower that barrier in a way they feel safe to be able to share with you their deepest, truest level of problem, then you haven't earned the right to make the offer yet. You haven't. And so what I really encourage my people to do is, and again, this is kind of crazy, but I want them to create a conversation where instead of somebody coming to the table and saying, like, let's say, Terri, you came into a call with me. Hey, Terri, it's so good to see you. I'm excited to spend time with you. Tell me about what's on your mind. How can I help you? That's kind of a, change the words a little bit, but that's the vibe that a lot of people put off in the beginning of a call. Hey, what's up? How can I help you? All right, now let's go back, Terri. Let's go back and think about what I just said. That person's coming to the call and they're not yet ready to be vulnerable. They're just a little bit like, okay, I'm willing to talk to you, but I'm not yet ready to tell you my truth.
Right.
So here's the problem. If you ask them, what's up? How can I help you? They're not going to be coming from the deepest part. They're not there yet. And so what I ask my people to do is to never start out a call by saying those words. Never, ever. By starting out, hey, what's on your mind? How can I help you? Because what you've done is you've given this broad canvas to somebody who doesn't want to necessarily go deep with you yet. And you've put the ball in their court and you got to work with what they lay out there. And it's hard. It's hard. So here's the tip. I really encourage people to create something called a point of view. And I hate to use the word pitch, but there's no other word that fits it well. It's a point of view pitch. So you need to create this about who you are in your area of expertise and why people come to you to talk about this. What are the 3 things that you've heard most often? I call them your power positions. They're the things that you uniquely do better than anyone else to solve a problem that they definitely want to get solved. So you're creating this point of view pitch. And if you came to me for a call and we did our little bit of, rapport building and chit chatting, and then we're ready to get down to business, right? Instead of me saying, so Terri, how can I help you today? What's on your mind? Here's what I'd say. Hey, Terri, what I know more than anything else is when people come to calls with me, they've got one of 3 things on their mind. They either have a really hard time with sales conversations and getting connected. They don't have a strategy in place and they feel like they're kind of lost on how they're going to get their revenue. And they also are feeling like they're on an island, that they're trying to build their business and they've got no team around them, nobody to turn to when they don't know exactly what to do. Now, those are 3 of the things that I know they experience more than anything else when they're trying to build their business. That's more important than ever. They're great at what they do, but they never intended to go into business to be a salesperson. But here's what they're found, here's what they've found themselves doing. So Terri, tell me, of those 3 things that I described, which one of them resonates the most with you? Or is it something else? All right. So you're able to share with people a high level, like, this is what I know about my ideal clients. This is what I've heard over and over. This is what I love to help solve for. Now tell me for you, Terri. And here's the difference. As people listen to you talk about your ideal clients and the problems that they've brought to you in the past, all of a sudden you have delivered expert authority. You have established yourself as someone who truly understands them.
Mhm.
And that wall is starting to come down, and they're going, you know what, Susan, it's not that. It's kind of like that, but this is how it shows up for me.
Yeah.
And now you've got a great place to start your questions and tell me more about that.
Mm.
What has been the impact of that for you? How do you see it being better? What would good look like? So if you can start out with an awesome point of view around what your ideal client thinks and needs, you're automatically drawing that person into a deep, connected conversation where they're more willing to
Yeah.
open up and share exactly why they're there.
And it gives you kind of some guidelines of what that conversation
Yes.
could look like, because otherwise it can be you don't know
Oh
where
my
it's going to
gosh.
go. And at the end of the day, if you're trying to control your time, and
Yes.
you're having these calls in like a 15-minute or 30-minute window, the only
Yes.
way you can control that time is to control where it can go.
Terri, you're spot on.
Giving that guideline really helps to focus that conversation and
Yes.
make it really intentional and deliberate. And I love that. Such a great tip.
So good. I am so glad you brought that into the conversation here, because that's the other thing that I hear a lot of times about sales conversations is people are saying, like, we just keep going around and around, and I just feel kind of lost in it. I'm not sure how to guide that conversation in an efficient way towards the purpose of why we're there today. So using this I call it putting up almost like guardrails, where you're like, let's keep in this lane here so that I'm not
The
hearing about
bumper
all the
lane.
ants. Like you're going bowling. I love that. Bumpers.
Yes, you're putting up the bumpers in the alley
The
so that your ball
conversation
doesn't get
bumper.
all over
Oh,
the
Terri, I love that. That's perfect. Yes, that's
I love
exactly it. But it changes the conversation, Terri. It changes. And now
it. Really?
here's how it goes back to your offer, because now you are in the trenches with your sleeves rolled up, and that person is willing to talk to you. And now you're able to use their words to identify exactly what you can do to make a difference in their lives and the value that it would bring to them. So you're not pushing your product, your program. What you're doing is saying, wow, if this is important to you, here's the gift that I can put on the table for you. And here's the exchange that we'll have around it. You're going to get this and you're going to pay me this, and it's going to be a beautiful thing. Let's get going. What would stop you from starting?
Yeah. Beautiful. I love it. Excellent second pillar. Rita, you are fantastic. Make a feel, felt, found statement and show you understand their pain points. Ask them which of these resonates with you. It's such a good question. Which of these resonates with you? I love
Mhm.
it. And I love it. And her discovery calls can meander without getting to the sale for both of us feeling
It
comfortable.
happens.
And it totally happens. It
Oh, it
happens
happens
to
to the pros. Oh
everybody.
my gosh, this is not a newbie situation. I've had it happen to me.
I've had it happen to me. It happens.
Yes.
You know?
All right. I
Totally.
love this
And
because it's going, oh, go ahead.
the other component of that too, and this is something that I have found, and I don't know if you've found this too, Susan, is when we get to that point of the conversation where it's time to lay the offer out on the table, sometimes the reluctance is this preconceived notion of what our prospect that we're on the phone with actually is financially capable of. And so
Mm,
then we as women particularly have this problem. We're afraid to ask what our value is. And so
yes.
we become reluctant. We put the wall up of how to present that offer because we don't want to offend them, or we don't
Mm,
want them to feel like it's totally out of reach. And so then we have this wall of our own psychological beliefs about money and how they're going to receive this offer that
I
can
love
create that
this.
barrier.
I just love that you said this. Terri, you and I are so in such alignment with each other that you're like bringing the third pillar in before I've even told you. And we did not set this up, you guys. We did not. I did not go into this, but Terri, that is the third pillar.
Really?
Yes, you can have the best plan in the world. You can know how to create great conversations, but if you don't have I call it an unstoppable mindset, because that's the name of my business, Unstoppable Women Business. But this unstoppable mindset, if you can't create a mindset that when you show up to do these activities, to do everything that's in your plan, if you're doing it from a place where, oh, I don't want not bother people, or, oh, they're not going to think I'm worth it, or they're going to think I'm I'm pushy. Like if you have that in your mind, how in God's name are you going to be able to authentically present the value you have to someone? It's going to taint it. You've got to, and here's the most important thing for you to know about this, ladies. It's so important. It's not your fault. It is not your fault. I have been in sales for 20 years, and there's not a sales call that I go on where I don't have a little bit of monkey chatter going on in the back of my brain.
I love that everybody calls it monkey chatter. This is
monkey
awesome.
chatter. Like this little bit of monkey chatter that's saying, don't do it. Nope. You know what? She's not going to like you. She's not going to like what you got. It's just like, and I'm like, what? Wait a minute. I have a pretty good track record here, but yet it's still there, Terri. So here's what I want people to understand. And this is the tip. And it's really a visual that you can use that is so important. You have 2 operating systems in your mind, 2, not just one. You have 2 operating systems. And one of them has been there since the beginning of time. It's your primitive brain. People call it the limbic system. There's a million that, whatever you want to call it. Okay. That baby, we'll call your thumb the primitive brain. That primitive brain was put into you to protect you. Its job is to keep you safe, keep you in community, because it's not safe to be outside of community. It's safer, right, to be around people who can support and protect you. And so the old brain, the primitive brain, doesn't want you to be rejected, doesn't want you to go outside of that cave. It's dangerous out there. Get back in here. You get back in here. It's safer in here, right? So this baby's going to be talking to you all the time, and it never goes away. I'm sorry. It never goes away. This part of your brain, the second part of your brain, is the neocortex. It's the part of your brain that creates the strategy, that's logical, that is knowledgeable, that can put pieces into place. So here's what you have to do. And I want you to think about it this way. Take your primitive brain and tuck it in, cover it with love, and say, I got you. Don't worry about it. I got this.
I love that.
Don't resist it. If you push it away, if you give into it, this primitive brain will take over your life. You will not be successful in any aspect of your life.
Right.
And we're just talking about sales here. But this baby is on guard 24/7. It wakes you up in the middle of the night, 3:00 in the morning. That's who's waking you up. Primitive brain is saying, oh no, you're going to die. You're going to starve. Why are you building this business?
Blah, blah, blah.
You forgot. And what you need to do is tuck it in.
Is Sunday.
Tuck it in, wrap it with love, and tell it, I got this. I got this covered, and it's all good. I'm going to be okay. If somebody says no to me, that doesn't threaten my safety. It's okay. There's lots more out there that will say yes, but you have to use your logic to tell the primitive part of you that it doesn't need to be involved in the moment. So that's what has to happen. But when you're in a sales conversation, you can't be sitting talking to your client going, okay, hold on, I got to tuck in my primitive brain for a second so that it doesn't rule the relationship here.
Tell me you do that, though. That would be hilarious in your sales call. Hold on a minute. I need to tuck my primitive.
Hold on.
For just a minute.
Excuse me a second. I got to tuck her away for a second. No, I haven't done it. Might try it, Terri. But hilarious. That's actually
the person on the other end of the call would probably think that's hilarious. And talk about lowering the barrier of entry. Probably think that's so funny. True. It would totally.
I may try it.
Try it. Let's see what happens.
I will. But the thing is, it's because I mentioned this doesn't just affect you when you're having a sales conversation. It affects your plans as your marketing, right? It affects how you live your life, every aspect of your life. So here's the tip on this is not only to understand what's happening and why it's happening, and then be able to lovingly be like, I got this. This is not a problem. I'm going to keep this under control. It's really creating a mindset practice. And in the Success Collaborative, I have a whole course on this with a daily practice where you literally can notice what's going on in your mind and then go through a process of being able to determine whether or not that's serving you properly, or if you want to put it away, and how you can do that in a way that's really productive. So taking care of mindset is not just like everybody. Here's the thing. Everybody's like, oh yeah, mindset. Yeah, I know. I got to have a good mindset. Right. You know that logically, but I'm telling you right now, I've been working on it actively for 15 years, and I have to do this every single day. It doesn't go away. It's a practice, just like meditation is, just like everything we do to get better in life. You have to pay a little bit of attention and work on it in order to achieve the levels of productiveness that are necessary for you to be successful.
Well, and I think it was Jim Rohn that said it. It might have been Zig Ziglar. I can't remember which. They had talked about getting your daily dose of positivity and motivation mindset stuff. It's about as essential as taking a shower. You don't take a shower once a week. You take a shower every day, right? So if you're going to shower every day, you kind of got to shower your mind too every day in this healthy, positive space, because otherwise it's so easy to slip back into some old patterns of behavior or into that primitive mind space that you don't even maybe realize that you've slipped into there. So having practices and daily patterns and rituals that help you stay in that positive mind space. So important. So good.
It is so good. I was just getting coached the other day by my coach, which I believe everyone should have a coach because of this stuff. And all this is brilliant. All she said to me was, well, that's just a thought, right? And here I'm someone who's been dealing with this for 15 years, and I'm like laying something out like it is fact. Like, this is going to happen, and I know this is going to happen, and blah, 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 blah. And she's like, yeah. And that's just a thought, right? And it just made me, it took my breath away. I went, okay, yes, I do. But it feels like fact. It feels like it's the truth. It's like, yeah, that brain, it's really cunning. Tricky. It's cunning. It's tricky.
It makes us believe things are true that are not. Yes.
It is. It's sad.
But Susan, anyway, this is amazing, and you've given us some amazing tips. So I want an opportunity for our listening audience to connect with you, because I know these were just the tips of the iceberg on each one of these pillars and each one of these steps. There's so much more knowledge that you have to share, and tips and success habits that people can tap into. What's the best way for them to reach out to you to get that information?
Thank you for asking, Terri. So I mentioned a little bit earlier, I've got a very quick masterclass called Getting to Yes Faster. And it's at www.gettingtoyesfaster.com. Imagine
that.
Imagine that. Yeah. Getting to Yes Faster it goes through everything that we've talked about here regarding sales conversations. Okay. So how do you create that point of view? What are the pillars of it? How do you have that conversation? There's a few worksheets in there where great questions you can ask and ways that you can present your value to the people so that you can create connected conversations. So that's the first one. And then I would love to mention that on June 3rd, I'm having an intensive. So everything we talked about today, creating the plan, creating a great conversation and a POV, and being able to put that into the right mindset. I'm going to be delivering that in a 5-hour intensive where you walk away with everything you need. 5 hours of time with me. And it is on June 3rd from 11 to 4 Eastern. And I'll have the registration page ready on Monday. So join me in Unstoppable. Oh, can I talk about one last thing? I'm sorry. We're having so much fun, Terri, in Unstoppable Women in Business Connect, the Facebook group right now. Oh my gosh. Okay, listen, everybody wants to do video, but they're kind of scared to turn the camera on, right? It's like awkward. It's like, I don't know if I'm good at this. So inside my little group, and it's little and it's intimate, women are showing up and they're practicing. I put a prompt out every day. They come into the group, they pop a video, turn their camera on and talk about the prompt. Nice. And it's been so much fun. And we've only been doing it since the beginning of May, but I just heard from a girl this morning. She's like, I can't believe the change in how I feel about doing a Facebook Live just from the experience of doing 4 of them day after day on a topic that's easy to talk about. So join us in Unstoppable Women in Business Connect. Sorry, that's it.
that's fantastic. Yay. That's so good. And I'm excited about that intensive workshop on June the 3rd. That sounds amazing. And it would buddy up really nicely to my group coaching program, Propel, which will be open for enrollment again the beginning of July. So we'll open that up again the beginning of July. And that is about building out your strategic plan from the marketing perspective, because marketing generates the leads that you need to have for the sales conversations.
Oh, Terri.
So you go to your intensive, you learn how to have those sales conversations, and then you come to Propel and you learn how to attract the people for those sales conversations. They go hand in hand. It's beautiful.
I love this. We're like sisters from another mister.
I know.
We serve the same audience, the same beautiful audience, just the way they need to be served. It's beautiful. I love working with you, Terri.
For those of you who are listening, that if you enjoyed this conversation, give us a thumbs up, share this conversation with your friends, because the more people know about the Terrific Tips podcast, the better. So please like, subscribe, share. We love hearing from you. We want to know the conversations that we're having here are supporting you and serving you in your business, because that's what we created it for. Totally honest. That's what we created it for. Susan, another question for you.
Yes.
If you could give yourself one tip from before, like if you were able to talk to your past self, what would you tell her?
I can't believe you're asking me this question. I was just having this conversation with my best friend last night, because we both started our business. I know, I can't, Terri, this is crazy. So we started our businesses the same time. A couple of years ago, we were cohorts in a coaching program. And here's what, in a nutshell, what I would tell myself from the beginning of my business, of the coaching practice. I would say, relax, it's going to work. Like, we get so hung up on the how. Like, we're obsessed with how is this going to work? And I'm telling you, that doesn't matter. What matters is just keep trying things. And it's not going to be what you thought it was going to be. It's going to be something totally different, and it's going to be amazing. And don't get hung up on it.
I love
That's what I would tell myself.
Don't get hung up in the how. And it's great, because I talk to my people about this all the time. When we feel like we're asking how, we need to change it and ask who. It's not about us needing to know. It's about who we need to know. Because there is somebody out there who's done it and can support us. There are tools out there. There are resources out there. There are people out there who want to support you. So if you're asking how, if you're getting stuck in your how, change the conversation to who. Who do you need to know that can help you to move that needle forward? It's so good.
Beautiful.
Thank you. It's a great tip. Great tip. All right. So you have a freebie offer for us. Want to tell us that one more time so that we can opt it in for that?
It's at www.gettingtoyesfaster.com. So it's the 1-hour masterclass on how to create great, authentic sales conversations.
Perfect. Susan, this has been absolutely delightful. I so appreciate you and your time here with us today. And for those of you who are listening, if you're feeling stuck in your marketing conversations, if you're frustrated and you're not sure how to show up, when to show up, or where to show up when it comes to reaching your perfect person, reach out to me. I'm Terri Watkins over here at SpinFrogs. I'm your chief idea catcher, because I help you catch the ideas that stick. And we have a variety of different ways to do that. And we'd love to just have a conversation with you and see if we're the solution that you're looking for. And Susan, thanks again for being here with us. We appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Sherry. Have a great weekend. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. You too. And to all of you mothers listening, happy Mother's Day to you as well. And I look forward to speaking with each and every one of you in the future.